Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Room 104, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called Voyeurs. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. I don't think I've ever reviewed Interpretive Dance before. This might prove weird and... Uh, like,
Yeah.
I mean, this could be a shambles. I have no idea how to review this, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it a jolly good go.
Yes, this is the almost infamous in our minds episode because we were waiting for this since the start, the
Yeah.
interpretive dance
Do,
one.
do,
We
do
were
you know
like,
what I
what's it
loved
going to
about?
be?
Do you know what I loved about it? Right, it doesn't actually start straight because there's a little moment. So it starts with the housekeeper coming into the room, right? And I thought, well, this is interesting. It's from the housekeeper's perspective, like,
Mm.
during the day after the guests have gone. Now, this is an interesting idea. Not knowing what this episode was, and she she's looking around the room, and she ends up she knocks or she kicks a bottle under the bed, and she has to go down to pick it up. And this little movement when she leans down to pick it up under the bed, and her back leg kind of kicks up, and I thought that was more movement than I think was required. This is the
Mm.
dance episode, but it wasn't dancing yet. It was just a subtle little thing. I was
But it's
like,
like, that's it, you know where it's going.
and I'm like, damn it, that's going to be a dance episode. And sure enough, it was. So basically, because for the first chunk of the episode, even when I was like, okay, it's going to be the dance episode, my interpretation for the first little bit was, oh, this is a housekeeper trying to piece together what the story of the guests in the room was last night. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. Like,
Mm.
yeah. I like that, the sound of that. And it goes on, and then eventually the woman who was there wakes up. She was in the bed the whole time, and then there's a whole section of the episode where they don't really see each other, and they're kind of like doing little dances without seeing each other, and then eventually they notice each one another, and then they start dancing together, and that's when it properly turns into a dance episode, because up until then there's little bits of dancing, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
there is noise, there's other there is dialogue actually, but it's just not from either of them. But
Yeah.
it's not until they actually both notice each other that it really starts to feel like, okay, this is interpretive dance, where they're just constantly dancing and they're playing off of each other. And
We have very different interpretations of this episode already.
really, why?
You know how like I didn't get the impression that the woman in the bed was actually there. I got the impression because you know the way they weren't seeing each other, but they were like right looking right at each other almost. It
Well,
seems to
actually,
me more this was
to
the
be fair,
housekeeper visualizing what she thought she would be.
well, no, I thought that at first as well. Like at first, I was like, this is just her, because the first time she goes to the phone or she hears the phone and the lights change, or when she's like visualizing, she's fantasizing over by the TV. Like, there's these little moments where it kind of goes into her head almost because the lighting changes and all that. So I thought she wasn't really there, or at least they weren't there at the same time. Like
Yeah,
maybe it was like the same, like they were both there, but they were there at different times, and it was kind of showing you what happened when she wasn't there. But then they actually interact, they actually touch and interact, and then it was like, okay, right, so they're kind of both there, and then but then it kept going, and obviously the ending kind of paints a completely different picture. It's not even that they were both there; it's that, well, I guess I just need to bring up what the ending is because it's kind of hard to interpret the
yeah,
rest
it
of it
is.
without even talking about it. So I actually got that they were the same person.
Yeah,
At whatever point. I think it might have been when their clothes changed. You know, when she was wearing the housekeeper's clothes.
I think you get it before that when they're so in sync with the because they're starting
Yeah,
dancing around the bed before that.
yeah. Well, I say I took that as a just an interpretive dance thing.
Yeah, okay. I think
You
they were
know,
too in sync. It was too perfect. I think
like
for
I just
me
took that as other dancing and like like dancers
because
with dancing
I think
time.
it was for me. It wasn't that like I thought one of them would have followed what the other was doing and copied, but they were just doing the movements together.
Oh, but
Straight like
she kind of was though. The older one was out of time.
at first, but then once they moved on to the next bit, they moved together. They moved to the next section at the same time.
Um, but regardless, so you get that idea as the episode goes along, but you also get little seeds of what the plot is as well. Like you see like the newspaper clipping, you see like the list of names for boys and girls, and it becomes quite clear, or at least my interpretation of it is that this man was her boss. She's like the secretary for this guy who's married,
Hmm.
and they've been having an affair. She's pregnant now, and he's basically just cut and run. They've had like one last night together. He's been all nice, but all he's basically left was an envelope with some money in it, and it didn't look a lot. It was like a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
And this is like she's waking up and that's what that's what the young version's waking up and sort of like thinking about the night before. And because it was funny, because when I thought it was two different people before it got to that kind of point, I was like, oh, this is the older person thinking about their youth. Like, I'd already got that far, but they
Yeah.
were sort of glamorizing it in their head, and that's why it was like a fantasy, because I was like, oh, I remember when I was young and everything was all exciting and stuff. But obviously, the younger person's actually miserable because of, well, not miserable, but we'll say, I mean, miserable because of the guy, but like sort of scared with just how big the thing this is in her life. Like, you know, she's checking her stomach in the mirror, she's thinking about all these things, and a lot of the dancing later
that was
on,
it.
there was a lot of
At that
frantic
point
moments.
at that point there, I wasn't wondering. You said, "Oh, was this her glamorizing herself earlier in her life?"
Mm.
But I was thinking it was she was, going around seeing these bits of what had happened in the room. She was getting these bits of information, and she was visualizing what she thought this person was.
Oh no, actually I thought that as well, but I was going back and forth constantly. I was changing my
All
mind like
right,
every
okay,
minute. Like I did not settle on one thing for longer than 60 seconds.
really,
Yeah, I was going back and forth mainly because I just didn't feel confident with the dancing. Like I had no idea how to interpret that, so I kept not trusting myself to interpret it properly. So I kept
Mm.
giving myself more possibilities. I went from she's just imagining, like that was my initial idea. She's trying to figure out what the people in the room were like, and that's so she was
Yeah,
imagining parts of that and whatnot. And then it was like, oh, they're just both there, and this is her waking up and she didn't notice her, even though that feels like I kind of swore we would have seen her on the bed because you see the
yeah.
bed quite clearly later on.
That's it, because she goes under the when she
Yeah.
reaches under the bed for the bottle, she was definitely not there. So it's like, okay, that was a trick there.
So you've got that, and I was like, okay, she's thinking about her younger life, because the way I thought it was maybe going is it was paralleling her fantasy of youth with the youthful person's fantasy, or not fantasy, but dread of getting old, because now, because the idea of like becoming a mother is the first step
Yeah, yeah.
into the rest of your life, and I was thinking they were paralleling, and they kind of are in a way, but it's more specific than that, because I actually didn't think it was going to confirm it. I thought once I figured out they were the same person, I thought it wasn't actually going to give me a proper confirmation of
Yeah.
that. But it does with the
This shows that
tattoo.
like to be vague, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it ends with that shot of them both on the bed, and
Bed,
you see
yeah.
the tattoos on the same arm in both of them, and it's like, oh, okay. I mean, the older one's head's not as red, the hair, so like they've cheated a little bit to
To be
throw us
fair,
off.
I mean, red hair gets darker over age because
Okay.
mine used to be a lot brighter, like a lot brighter.
Oh God, I can barely look at you now. What,
Yeah.
what was it like before?
When I was like, single digits, it was like bright orange, basically. Like it's proper. It gets a lot. Like now it's verging on brown comparatively to what it
So
was.
so it was bright orange, and we just unluckily didn't have any airplanes try to land next to you.
Pretty much.
That was a pretty decent joke. Come on.
It wasn't bad actually. I'll give you that one.
so so it does confirm it, and I didn't think it would. I was like, see when they actually showed that, I was like, oh, they actually just confirmed that I was right. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be left kind of ambiguous, but that was kind of what my interpretation was going to be. As this is because it's when she takes the the card that says because it's a really weird phrase actually puts on it. It's like happy day or something like that. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't like a normal phrase you'd write in a card. But the older one scrolls it out and writes down, "I'll give it all up to be with you." It's like this happier message. And by the way, the song she listens to, because that's when the dancing really kicks off. Is the older one picks up the old Walkman. I think this is in the 80s. Like this feels like set in the past because the TV was pretty old looking as well.
Does the phone as well with the blinking
Yeah.
light.
And it's this song, and I'm going to have to look up this song because I quite liked it. But it was some of the lyrics were like, "If you can't make it last, then drop it fast," or something to that effect. Like there was this whole idea of not regretting the things that you can't actually make work, and the idea that this younger woman is still into this guy, even though she should be pissed at the way he's kind of abandoned her for. I mean, admittedly
Yeah.
his family, but he shouldn't have been treating her. It's a
Yeah.
mixy situation, but so she is. So that's what this is about, really. It's about her getting over this and not being terrified of the rest of her life, really.
Yes.
So it's her working through those emotions, and I almost wonder, like, does the old person is she the one who doesn't actually? Because she's the one that disappears at the end. Like,
She is, and
she fades
at
away.
that point, I assumed what it was is the old person was like an idea of if she's not careful, this is where her life will go. She can't amount to anything if she kind of just gets stuck in this.
I think what you're trying to say there, in a more diplomatic way, is that instead of the older person imagining the younger person, it's actually the other way around. It's the younger person. It's basically because she's. I mean, it's notable that she's also starts the episode asleep, Like
Yeah.
this starts with the older one coming in as she's asleep, quote unquote, even though she's not really there, but she is really there. She's the one that actually is there. The older one isn't there.
But she's not there at the time on the in the image for
Oh
sure.
yeah, in terms of the image that we are seeing, she's not
Yes.
there. But in terms of real life, at least the way I'm interpreting it, she's the real one. The old one is kind of the kind of resentful, sad older lady who's
It's almost like a fear, like a
yeah,
fear of what they could become, what their life could be.
yes, and well, actually I wouldn't even say it's a fear. Like I think you're actually misreading that. You're putting this damper on it because I think it's actually. No, it'll be okay because the older lady's actually kind of happy. She's okay. I mean, she's a little bit bored and she's fantasizing a bit, but it's not that bad. She's okay,
Yeah.
and
I guess.
it's shown that she's kind of gotten over it, or at least theoretically she can get over it because she's the one who changes the note to say, "Look, it's going to be okay." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Like, and maybe that's part of the whole point is that here she does kind of grow up in a weird way because she starts to think like just a more mature person.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Um. So no.
I think it goes in so quick, this episode.
It goes in pretty quick.
Like
Um,
I was just like, oh, it's over. Like so fast.
Yeah, I did quite like it. I did think the dancing in the second half maybe got a little too just constant dancing for me. Like I was really liking it. It was when it was just sprinkling it here or there, and it was almost like accentuating the actual kind of see when they couldn't see each other right, and they were kind of
Yeah.
like just doing a little bit, and she was listening to the headphones, and it was like I was really liking all that stuff, and then I liked when the lighting came in and all that. But it just for a little bit in the second half, it was just a wee bit too constant, like just all this dancing to the point where I was like, okay, is like where I couldn't really read any single shot on its own. On its own, like it was just two people
Yeah.
moving, kind of funny for a little bit. It wasn't
No,
until I got to a point.
I was still like I was really enjoying it though. Like I say, it definitely got into just okay, this is the dance section now.
Yeah,
But I thought it was entrancing.
I thought it was to a point, but there definitely was because I loved that neither of them ever speak. I loved that our two main characters never talk, or technically one main character, but for the sake of like who we're talking about on screen, the two main characters, they never say anything. It's all completely, I mean, and that's kind of the point is that it is all internal in her head. So she's not really speaking. So why would
Yes.
she speak? But no, and it shows you other little things like the younger one like taking all the tissues out of the box is very similar to the older one like dropping the toilet roll.
Yeah, and who tries to pick it up like that? just stop and pick it up.
So someone who's I don't know. I don't even have a word for it.
That might be my biggest problem with the episode. That moment, where I was like, just stop and pick it up. Stop just trying to grab it. I mean, I get the point of it. She keeps trying to grab it and it's getting away from her.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's like that's like a life. She keeps trying to get a hold of a life, but it's just running away. I get the point, but the moment annoyed me still.
I like how eventually the younger one lies back down in bed and the older one like brings her the rose and brings her the cake that's been left for her, and it's kind of like, yeah, look, enjoy the things that you get given, but then move on, then get up, be strong, and get on with life. That's kind of how I was reading the episode. And to be fair, I'm not entirely 100% that I got everything in this episode, because like I say, I've never watched an interpretive dance thing, and never mind try to analyse it, so I'm doing the best I can here, folks. Best I can.
That is fair. I think I've only watched a couple of pieces in my life, which I guess is a couple more than you, but still not.
Yeah, there's a couple more than me.
It's still not enough to could like I said, we usually analyze dialogue and all that sort of stuff and what things are getting at through that, and this is a completely different art form to try and analyze. Strange.
Yeah. So yeah, so to sum up, I think it's a younger woman who's just found out she's pregnant, that she's the father's not going to be there, he's going back to his wife or whatever, and she is worried about her life, and it's about her thinking about how it might turn out, and whether even if it's not the best thing ever, it might still be okay, and she might still be fine. I think that's kind of it's don't worry, I'll cope, I'll get through it. As I think it's the message of the episode. And I did enjoy it. I'll say that.
I did as well. Like I said, it went in so quickly. I was like, could have watched some more of that.
Yeah, that's where else. I mean, I think you liked it a little bit more than me, just because I thought the dancing in the second half was just a little bit too
I
much.
assume for you it got to a point where it was almost like, okay, I'm bored of that now. Like almost, not that it
Kinda,
was bad, but
yeah.
it was just like you just when you lose your focus, it's like, okay, I'm over that.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. There was a point where I checked the time. I was like, how much is left of this?
Yeah, it's not that it becomes bad or it becomes any worse than it was, but it just you reach your own limit with something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I never quite hit that.
So yeah, so I think people may have a valid complaint there, where if they just aren't into the dancing at all, it's like, okay, right, it's
There is an extended chunk, and that's just going to be down to whether or not you like it or not,
yeah.
simply.
Luckily, I was so into interpreting what was going on up until that point that I was trying to read from then on what was happening and how it added to my interpretations, or if it was if it was taken away from, if it was adding to them. And eventually it started to do different things where it was adding more to my analysis of it. But there was like a good 4 or 5 minutes where it was just kind of dancing, and I don't want to say it was just for the sake of dancing, but at least in terms of adding stuff to at least as much as I could read it, there was nothing more I was getting from it. Whereas eventually it started to do things like this, they swapped the clothes, or they started doing the more specific things where it was intercutting between all the different things that were going on, and
Yeah.
yeah, so. But no, it was a solid and very experimental episode of
Yes,
TV.
definitely one of the strangest episodes of TV we've watched, I think.
I wouldn't say it's the strangest episode of TV. I think David Lynch honestly takes that cake for a number of his episodes, but I will say it's the strangest thing I've had to review, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, like I think David Lynch has given it with Twin Peaks has given us stranger episodes of a TV show, but I think that in terms of like trying to review something, this is the weirdest thing I've ever had to actually review.
Yeah, at least with the Lynch stuff, we kind of have a more familiar ballpark of where we start.
Yeah, and plus, I've seen more weird experimental art house movies and stuff like that than I have interpretive
It's
dance.
dance. Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's just a case of not knowing how to read it necessarily for the smaller things.
but hopefully that was a decent discussion. Hopefully you got something out of that. And by all means, give us your interpretations in the bottom. And hopefully you enjoyed that more. I know some people were thinking we were a little too close to the subject matter of last week's episode to give a.
They might be right.
They might be no. I can completely agree that maybe we weren't objective in our viewpoints from last week's
Alternatively, we
episode.
might have been slightly too far out from this one with the dance, not
Yeah, this is
necessarily
the
appealing
opposite.
to us. So we didn't quite maybe connect in the same way
I was really into it though until a point because I
to a point.
yeah I liked I liked the song that played. I like the 80s feeling of it all. I like the lightning changes, and I liked interpreting
Yeah,
it. I like
that first moment where it just faded to red.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this is different."
And I really liked sort of piecing together what the story was, because at first it was like, oh, it was a married couple who were here, but for some reason they've fallen out. Oh no, wait, no, it's not. It was a mistress,
Mm.
and it's the mistress whose story we're following, her effect, and then it's like, oh, they're the same person, and it's like, like it was kind of, it kept me going with the mystery, it kept me going with all the different ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm into it. I'm into it. But there you go. That has been episode 6
6.
of Room 104. Let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. And have you got any vanilla?